I call Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr Chair. To the member who has just returned to his seat, raises a couple of issues that I thought needed to be addressed. The first one was that he says, rightly, that the current flag is not one of the 4 options which is the subject of the first referendum, and he's absolutely right in that. And I guess that comes down to the very issue that we are debating tonight, and that is around what is the best process in this flag referendum bill, and that is that on that point turns quite a bit of the debate, because there are some in the House who say it should be a simple runoff, yes, no, and then there are others in the House, the government being of that opinion, is that yes, we do have a yes-no vote in this referendum, and that comes in the second question once the New Zealand public have had a chance to evaluate and choose one of the 4 potential fresh flags which have been submitted by the New Zealand public. So my view is that to put in the current flag would certainly muddy the waters on 2 counts. One of them, that it wouldn't be a fair comparison between the new and 3, I presume, alternatives, and so that is confusing in itself. And who is to say that people will recognise the New Zealand flag on that voting paper anyway? Because one of the problems with the current flag is that people get confused about it and don't recognise it. Is it the New Zealand flag? Is it the Australian flag? I think it's a valid point, and if you have a look over at the New Zealand First benches, resplendent as they are, even they don't know which is the New Zealand flag. The only way they do know which is the New Zealand flag is because they've had to have it written on the flag itself, which is decorating the front of their boxes, which I think is a point well made by my colleague John O'Naylor. So I think, Labor are pretty confused overall over this process, if you don't mind me saying so. And that brings me to the contribution of Jacinda Ardern, excellent though it was, but it shows a very high level of confusion by Labor over just what their position is on this debate. So if I turn to Labor's policy, which they proudly went to the electorate on in the last election and which still remains on their website, we have the New Zealand flag. And if you permit me, this is good stuff, so I'm going to...
As long as it applies to Part 2.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Speaking to Part 2 of the bill and also referencing the contribution of previous members. Part 18 in part, Clause 18 in part actually, which describes the 2 referenda, the 1 and the 2. So speaking, touching on that. So I'll just read it out because it is good stuff, Mr Chair, and it is worth reading. We believe that the time has come for a change, and it is right for the issue to be put to the public. We would, however, support the ability of the RSA...
Point of order, Stuart Nash.
Mr Chair, you have yourself said that this is a wide-ranging debate, etc., but Clause 18 that the member referred to never mentions Labor Party policy in any way, shape or form.
I take the member's point that it is fairly tenuous. I must say it's probably about the 6th time I've heard Labor Party policy read in the course of this debate, and I'd urge the member to speak to Part 2.
So, thank you for your advice, Mr Chair. I do appreciate it. So, I'm referring generally to clauses 19, who may vote, electoral systems, clause 20, 21 and perhaps not touching on clause 22, which is around voting papers, which of course is the method of the referendum. So I'm speaking directly to the referendum here. And I'll just finish off with the Labor Party policy, which still is on their website and does bear reading again because it's still up on the website, what it seems to me and what it did say to the public of New Zealand, in fact, is that the Labor Party are supporting a referendum on this issue. So what Labor need to stand up and explain to the House is if they are in their policy.
I call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.